From 2016 to 2019, I have doubled my reading every year. 2016, I read around 20 books. 2017, I read around 44. 2018, I read 100. And this year, I am at 137, so I'm well on my way to reaching 200. And I just kind of wanted to talk about how I did that, because I think a lot of the things is that, obviously being readers and being on BookTube, Book Twitter, whatever it is, we all want to read more. And I know there's like a lot of discussion about how it's like, oh, well, if you've read like hundreds of books, you don't remember them all, or you don't do this. And it's not true. They're definitely forgettable books, but that's not because I've read so many. It's because sometimes they're just bad books. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things that I've done over the few years that have helped me consistently double my reading every year. So first, I'm going to talk about the format of which I am consuming the media. Up until 2016, I was exclusively reading physical books. I wasn't using any audiobooks, I wasn't using any ebooks, and they were only books that I would buy. So I was very, very limited as to what my options were. So being that it was only the books that I was buying, and I was still getting books at a discounted rate. I wasn't buying books full price, but I was still just really limited on my options of books. So starting in 2016, towards the end of the year, I started listening to audiobooks. I actually listened to the entire Throne of Glass series, as much of it that was published at the time. I think it was up to Queen of Shadows. And I was just listening to it at 1.5 speed, very, very basic. I started listening to them in my car, and once I realized that I could do other stuff and listen to this book, thank you ADHD brain, I started listening to it when I was cleaning, just random parts of my day, you know, consuming media, but still being able to do things in my busy college life. So from 2016 on, I added audiobooks. I was still very limited into what I could do because I was using Audible, and that's about it. I didn't have many options, and Audible is very, very expensive. So there weren't many audiobooks that I could get my hands on. 2017 continued much of the same. Audiobooks that I could get my hands on, and physical books. And in 2017, I read 44 books. I doubled my reading by including audiobooks. By consuming my media in a different way, it opened me up to more options of reading. And I know this kind of seems like common sense, but for me, I was just like, I'm not an audiobook person. I'm never gonna do it. I didn't try. And once I really like tried and applied it to my daily life, especially like a hectic, busy college life, it really helped. The majority of the time that I'm listening to audiobooks is in the car to my commute. In 2017, I did up the like percentage. I think I made it up to like 1.75 at this point. Like with Audible, like you could, I'm pretty sure it was Audible that you could like go up by like 0.5%. So I was like between 1.75 and 1.95. I wasn't at 2 yet. So at this point I have doubled my reading. I went from reading 20 to 44 books. And the only thing that I done was I added audiobooks. Still restricted on what I could get my hands on. 2018 I read 100 books. So I more than doubled my reading. 2018 was a big change. I added a lot more to it. It was around February or March when I actually got my library card renewed, and I started using ebooks and audiobooks from the library. So the options of what I could read just exploded. I had so many things to choose from. So I still had audiobooks, and I still had whatever physical books I had, but I also had ebooks. And this is also when I started my job, and so I was like on my feet a lot, and so I would like soak in the tub, and I found that I could soak in the tub and read. Because I was reading on my phone, I wasn't reading in a physical book, because that's where I was using my like the Kindle app, because I don't have a Kindle. I was just reading on my phone. I could read in bed. It's a lot easier to read in bed at night when you're on your phone than it is with an actual book and having the light on. Was that good for me? No, but it's just something I do. It was easier to read, you know, so many pages at night if I was just doing it on my phone right before I went to bed, or when I woke up, or just different things like that. It was very convenient and easy, and I didn't have to, you know, worry about like carrying a book around. I was still reading physical books though, just not as many. I was consuming most of my books through e-format and audiobooks. I definitely moved up to 2 speed at this point, that I'm listening them 2 times as fast. So where a book may be like 10 hours, I could listen to it in 5. And I'm still setting goals like each year. So like in I think in 2016 I was like, I'm gonna read 50 books, because at this point I was like, I wasn't setting realistic goals. And then I saw how many I read, and it's like, okay, I want to read 30. So I beat my 30 by reading 44. Alright, so I was like, okay, well for 2018 I want to read 50, because I read 44, I can probably meet 50. And I doubled it again. 2019 my goal was to read 100 books, because I wanted to try to see if I could do it again, and I have. For 2019, I would say that the reason that I've read so many is that the type of media that I'm reading has definitely changed. I've opened myself up to more genres. For the most part, for the last few years, my main source of material has been YA novels, a variety of like subgenres. I actually opened up and I started reading adult romance, adult thriller, and manga, which has, again, just exploded with my options. Definitely like reading manga has racked up a lot. And I'm not saying that if you want to read 100+ books, you now have to read manga. I'm just saying that it doesn't hurt to open your mind to different genres. I was the person that said I was never gonna read manga. I did enjoy anime, but I was super picky. And so I was like, I'm never gonna read it. Like, it's too hectic. My mind won't be able to focus. And I love it. I love it, especially when I'm in a slump. Like, I'm in the middle of the Inuyasha volumes right now. When I'm in a slump, like, I'll like, let me just read like a couple chapters of this, try to finish a volume, because there's about, for Inuyasha, there's like 10 chapters in each volume. And so I'm like, let me get a couple chapters, and then I find that I finished the entire volume. And then, I don't know, I just feel pumped to read. It's just really good at getting me out of slumps. Just some other side factors. I know it's really hard when you're like really set in what you like, and it's like, well, I know I like this, I don't want to, you know, venture out this way. I found that like issues that I have like with YA thrillers are solved in adult thrillers. The issues that I sometimes have with YA romance are solved in adult romance. It's just, you have to know where to look. So when you break it down, it's a quite simple process. Just opening up your options of what you can get. I know that not everyone has like good libraries. My library is pretty decent, so it's not always the best option, but it is an option. It gives you more opportunities than if you don't have money to buy books. You can read what you have at your library. The way that you're consuming your media, it doesn't always have to be a physical book. It can be an ebook, it can be an audiobook. And you may find that you don't like reading from ebooks because it takes too long. It just all depends on you and like giving things a shot and just kind of trying it out, because I really thought that I'd never be the person to do any of that, and lo and behold, look at me now. Audiobooks are a heaven sent. Like, and again, sometimes it may not work for you. This is what worked for me. It's worth like giving it a shot. You never know what will happen. Expanding the type of media you're consuming. Maybe you like graphic novels, maybe you like manga. Like, I've never read a graphic novel, so I don't know if I like them or not, but I'm excited to try. Comics, just different things. Like, it doesn't always have to be big chunky book. It can be anything, and pushing through. My last little bit is to definitely participate in readathons, book clubs, or anything like that. Like, if you can find a readathon that interests you, it's definitely worth doing. Like, the sense of community that you get with just like reading with a set goal with other people is so amazing. I participated in 2 readathons this year. The Sailor Moonathon, which is hosted by B from Bookish Pisces. They did a fantastic job. It was so amazing. And I also participated in the Reading Rush. Again, another good one. That one's a lot larger. And the numbers don't matter. It's not about reading hundreds of books. It's just about reading more. I think we can all agree that we always want to read more than we did the day before. And I don't mean read more than that person, or read more than him or her or them or whoever. It's more about reading more than you did yesterday. I really like the fact that I've doubled my reading. And I'd still be proud if I doubled it by if I read 2 books and then I read 4 and then I read 8 and then I read 16. I'd still be happy because I'd be reading more than I did the year before. What's important to me is that I'm reading in general. But I always like to see that I'm reading more and growing, because reading either the same amount or more just shows that I'm not falling off, that I'm not like not reading, if that makes sense. Because I know a lot of people aren't happy, like they don't like doing Goodreads goals, and that's fine. Like, it's all up to, you know, what you like. I'm just trying to show you how I personally doubled how much I was reading, because I've never been more happier than the past couple years. So thank you for watching my video on how I doubled my reading. I hope this was helpful or insightful, or if this was just common knowledge to you, I'm sorry. I'd love to like have a discussion on the value of the amount of books we're reading and how that impacts our reading, or just like a discussion on, or if Goodreads goals are important. Let's talk about books and the numbers and the value we assign to that. I'd love to talk about that. Thank you for watching.